This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jet-to-Lorien podcast here on the Sports Jedi Network. The news came out here that in 2024, the New York Jets have relieved their general manager, Joe Douglas. We'll react here on the Jet-to-Lorien podcast. Now, is Joe Douglas unemployed? We're going to go over his resume, and now the Jets are looking for a difference maker, a culture changer. But first and foremost, let me bring in Chef Dan, who's going to have this conversation with me about Joe Douglas. Chef, good afternoon. How are you? Tell me what you heard about those Jets news.
Hey, good afternoon, Jedi. Just now, the only thing I've heard is that earlier this morning they fired Joe Douglas. Me personally, I'm not too keen on it because his draft record has been very excellent. But the Jets ownership has done a decision that they've made, and you can't really fight it. I'm not the one in charge. Just got to move forward with the punches.
Yeah, I mean, personally, look, I know a lot of Jet fans want their pound of flesh for the season, the way it's coming out, the way the season has progressed. You know, no one thought bringing in Aaron Rodgers was going to be this of a mess. You know, Rob Saleh got fired, whatever the case was, and instead of getting better, it got worse. And the fan base wants more pound of flesh to attack. And Douglas got hurt. You know, he's in, and I kind of would have loved Joe Douglas to stay. And I know this is not the most popular opinion from the Jet Nation. They're going to be like, are you crazy? He's been horrible. We're going to talk about this because Joe Douglas inherited a sticky situation. It comes down to ownership. I blame ownership in the inept of all of this. From Christopher Johnson, you know, remember Douglas came in after they drafted. After they just went through a draft, they fired the GM and they put Douglas in. He didn't even get a chance to everything was a dysfunction when it comes to the Jets. One thing you could hold against him, Chef, the quarterback, Zach Wilson. And one thing I think it was a disservice bringing in Zach Wilson with a rookie offensive coordinator in LaFleur when Rob Saleh was hired. Look, everyone in the Jet Nation wanted this Rob Saleh to be hired. He looked like the no-nonsense, tough guy, San Francisco defensive coordinator, the hot coordinator coming over. We get it. Again, we cannot negate and say that was a bad hire, of course, because now we see how the story played out, Chef. My point is they brought in a Zach Wilson, rookie offensive coordinator. Also, Greg Knapp was supposed to mentor and get this kid going into see if he was an NFL quarterback and implementing the system. But then he had that unfortunate accident that he passed away. They never recovered from that, Chef. I mean, Douglas isn't behind the eight ball. I mean, I don't understand, the bad luck of this franchise. It's like, holy crap. And I get it. The defense was good, Chef. The defense was very good under Saleh. And what hurt it, Douglas, is that. And I think what got him fired, ultimately, in my opinion, the Hassan Reddick trade. That Hassan Reddick deal, him and look, Douglas, who the hell knew that he was going to be misrepresented, or if it was from him, hold out the way he did. And especially when you see Franklin Myers in Denver, and then you see Brees Huff playing in the Eagles. I mean, my goodness. And then Mekhi Becton being moved over now he's a guard. I mean, and playing well for the Eagles. I understand people want their pound of flesh, but doesn't that come down to coaching to utilize the talent? He buys the groceries, but what's the perfect person to ask? A chef. Your restaurant buys you all these ingredients. It's up to you to make the meal. Am I correct, or I'm out of base?
Nah, you're correct. when you look at it, other than Zach Wilson and now, other than Zach Wilson, Joe Douglas has knocked it out the park with every single draft pick that the Jets have had. And you're absolutely right that the Hassan Reddick deal is the one that gets him fired, on top of the horrendous season that the Jets are having. But what doesn't help is the fact that the Hassan Reddick deal it has its machinations of not making sense. But then as it plays out, and I can understand where Hassan Reddick was coming from, but as it plays out, seems that he was told one thing, then it seems like he woke up one day and decided to do something else. So when looking at it from that perspective, it's like, how do you fault the general manager for the player's actions when it's clear as day the player and his agent didn't even have great communication with each other, as he had to fire his agency?
Yep, that's a black cloud, a black eye for him. Also, we knew that they needed a quarterback. With Zach not being the guy, didn't pan out. But then remember, LaFleur got fired, removed for Nathaniel Hackett. They brought in Hackett thinking that, we're going to lure Aaron Rodgers in here. Remember, the Johnsons went running on that famous flight. Of course, Joe Douglas was there, but it felt like that's when the beginning of the end of Joe Douglas's tenure or authority as a general manager really took a hit, because they bought in, go get Rodgers, but Woody was part of it. They had an opportunity there. We revisionist history. Lamar Jackson was out there for some draft picks, but we're not even going to talk about that right now. We're talking about Douglas here. They went with the Rodgers because LaFleur had to go as an offense coordinator. You got Hackett. We're going to make everything great for Rodgers. He blows his Achilles. That's not Douglas's fault. I know you want to say, well, he never fixed the offensive line. He drafted Becton. Becton was out of position, granted. Elijah Vera Tucker every year gets hurt. That's not the general manager's fault if a player can't stay healthy on the field. But remember, you got players here where everyone's now kind of a little bit off of the Sauce Gardner train. Look, he's having a bad year. You're entitled to have an off year. There's nothing wrong with that. You got Jermaine Johnson getting hurt in the beginning of the year, hurts the defense. Mosley is another one who can't stay healthy. There's a lot of players that are not staying healthy, and the general manager's trying to get younger players. The Breece Hall, the Brandon Allen. He's finding these guys and the other, Malachi McCourtley. There's other players, Gibson, St. Charles, Irvin St. Charles. There's a lot of players on the Jets team from later rounds and scouting department. I personally, Chef, I kind of would have liked Douglas to hire one more coach. I know everyone's saying that Rodgers is hampering the Jets. Is he going to retire? Everyone wants him to retire. But then it all depends on the new general manager. What do we do? Who comes in here? Who wants to, first and foremost, who wants to take the job when you're going to have openings now in Las Vegas, Jacksonville, possibly Cincinnati for head coaching position, maybe, because that's not, that could be some issues there. And Zach Taylor there. That's a keep an eye on that. And this is just November, so there might be something out of left field that we don't even see. That might be another place that might be attractive for another head coach to go there. Chicago might be another one, another organization of available openings. So I don't know, Chef. I as a Jet fan, I'm tired of the 14 years of losing, not being in the postseason, not even being in the postseason. That's 14 consecutive years and counting. Um, I want them to get it right. You need to hire the right general manager to bring his coach. If you're going to go that route, I don't need the backwards. I don't need the Adam Gase of the world to return. I understand we had a chance at Mike McCarthy back then, and I know Mark McCarthy is going to get fired from Dallas. Dallas is another name that's going to be opened up. That's going to be another place to be opened up as well, Chef. I got to get it right. Do the things right. Nothing wrong with keep it simple, stupid. That's all I'm asking right now, the Jets, because we can't handle the exotic or the out of the box hiring or, innovative creativity. Just keep it simple.
Absolutely. This next GM has got to be a very experienced GM because the roster is already made and it's there. There are guys there that you more than capable of winning with, but this GM has got to have experience with all types of athletes and be well connected with the right coaching tree in order to get the best out of these athletes. And that's all I can say about that.
And they're young. I mean, you could cut the fat here from a Mosley. If you want to get rid of some of the offensive linemen, yes, indeed. I know they're a little older there, Mosley and so forth. I can understand that. But there's guys that they have to think about picking up the fifth-year option for some of these rookie players, which they should, by the way, because these guys could play. Here's the problem with the Jets. It's the coaching, their lack of coaching, guys that could coach them. We've seen, with Ulbrich is above his head as a coach. That's not working right now. He's not a head coach. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator, defensive coach, linebackers coach. He seems like that's a great fit for him. But again, inability of not having another interim head coach in case things go bad on the roster. Knee-jerk reaction. You were correct. I'm going to give you your flowers in your cadence because you said that was a knee-jerk reaction. That was a mistake firing Rob Saleh. You should have waited the end of the year. Again, we cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's already out. It's spilled. I thought again, it's unbiased opinion for Jet fans, Jet Nation. Might think I'm nuts. I thought Douglas should have had one more opportunity to hire one more coach. He didn't hire. He only hired Saleh. You had to let him have one more head coach here because him buying the groceries works. He knows how to buy the groceries. The free agency market now for him to the way bringing players in, you could say an inability to identify good offensive linemen and also bringing in a lot of Rodgers pals. And that's something that they had to succumb to that. Brady did that in Tampa. And some of these players, when they come with that moniker, when you're in the need of a position of need, you have to succumb to certain demands on the high-priced players. Now, we can't do anything right now. The Jets look like they're going to win some games they're not supposed to because they have a lot of uber talented there. Where when you have Adams, Rodgers, you can't tell them to tank. They're going to win. They're not. I don't expect them to be in positioning to draft a top. Although, I mean, keep playing Rodgers scoring 6 points. I mean, you never know. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to miss out on a quarterback. I know Jets don't want Rodgers back. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. It feels like we're just entering a dark tunnel again.
Yeah. This is going to be a tough one for the new general manager to face.
Yeah, there's not a young up and coming player on our roster quarterback wise that we could get excited. I got to commend the Giants. At least they have DeVito. I mean, DeVito might not be a world breaker. He might not be an NFL quarterback, maybe a career backup practice quarterback. But there's still an uncertainty of DeVito where you might think there might be a ceiling that he might overshadow and go, damn, this guy could play. You might catch lightning in the bottle. Jets don't have anyone that they could think of, oh, crap, we could catch lightning in the bottle. There isn't anyone on this roster. There isn't anyone. Tyrod Taylor is a career backup quarterback. We know that. He could play some games. He could probably fit next year if they go rookie quarterback and have Tyrod Taylor start. But Rodgers has a big cap hit. Rodgers took less money to come play for the Jets. And deferred. I think if he earns, I hate to say it, Jet Nation, if he wants to play, you kind of got to let him play because he did take I know it's business. It's a business deal. Go, leave. But Rodgers could still work. And I know you're going to say you're bugging, you're crazy, you must be sniffing glue, whatever the case you want to say. But with the right head coach, coaching staff, with the talent currently having, it could still work. You could still kind of have it's a slim cake at either two, but everyone in the league is down this year. From the good teams we mentioned, the Bengals, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars with the great Trevor Lawrence having an off year. There's quarterbacks having a little bit off years that might not be in the postseason. I'm not saying Rodgers also a year removed from the Achilles. I know he's going to be 41 years old, but the right head coach combination here could get you at least to a postseason. I don't know if they'll win a Super Bowl. I don't think so, but get into the postseason, into some winning situation. It just sucks because it feels like we're going to be chasing our tails again with a 41-year-old quarterback. Let's say they do go to postseason. Maybe they do I'm not trying to compare teams, but they do a Giants, win one round of the postseason, get into the divisional round, and then they lose again. Then what? And then next year, then they go again. Are we going to fire the coach again? And because of expectations, I don't want to see that, Jet Nation. I'm tired of that chasing the tail. Everyone bring Rex Bryant. No, Rex isn't going to work. It had been there, done that before. You don't reuse a condom. I'm sorry. I hate to see Blunt. He gave us great moments, but you don't reuse. I'm sorry. You don't reuse it. Get something different. I know people want the sexy names. WFAN, New York wants John Gruden. I think that ship sailed. I think that's been done and over. I think he's overrated. His stint in Vegas wasn't so great. Nothing to write home about. Chef, you made a great point earlier about Gruden winning.
Yeah, he's only ever won with with the Tony Dungy made offense, with the Tony Dungy made roster already. So nah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. There's some candidates. But then you go Jedi. Then who? Again, this is a group of head coaches out there. Again, we don't know who's going to be available, who's not going to be available. As of right now, in the 19th of November of 2024, I said it last season. I wouldn't mind bringing in. It should have been Mike Vrabel. You should have fired Saleh, brought in Vrabel, let Douglas bring in Vrabel, and Vrabel would have brought in his coaching staff, and maybe got something different. He's much of an alpha man who could command the room from a diva like a Aaron Rodgers. And I still think about Dable because Vrabel will bring in an offensive coordinator who is going to be in place with Rodgers or without Rodgers. Even if they draft a quarterback, you give him time. You have enough defensive key players there where they could win some games. He made a lot of exotic meals with chicken scrap in Tennessee. Yes, he had Derrick Henry. I get it, guys. He had A.J. Brown. I get it. But don't we have talented players? I'm not saying they're similar to an A.J. Brown or Derrick Henry, but talented enough young players like a Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Brandon Allen on our team, where Vrabel with the right coaching, with some good defense, with the defensive players that we have here. I mean, we could be a Tennessee Titan type of deal. We can make it to the postseason, and hey, Chef, you roll the dice in the postseason. You never know. I mean, that's another name out there. I mean, there's other names. I know people are going to say if they go, let's say they get a quarterback, you got to have someone who could develop a quarterback, and even could coach with Roger, where Kingsbury leaves Washington. Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know, because maybe Chicago looks more appealing for him with the young quarterback there. He's just getting there and could fine tune him there. I don't know if they'll take the Jet job. That's another thing. Who wants to coach? Who wants to get hired? Money talks and bullshit walks. Let's be honest. Let's be frank. But will people want to play or work for the Johnson organization? No, the Jets for the Johnsons? I don't know, Chef.
It's
That's
going to be a tall task.
that's
That's
a
why I
yeah.
said the GM that they hire has to be well connected. That'll
And
help
then
you over the hurdle.
and then you're talking about bringing Aaron Glenn from Detroit, but then you're getting a rookie head coach. Yes, he was a Jet. Once a Jet, always a Jet. And I love number 31, Aaron Glenn. Yes, he was a hell of a Jet. But I don't know if he's a leader of men. You know, do the Jets have that capability of doing that? It's 14 years and plus. I know. I don't know if they could get cute with that. You know, there's names out there that I could tell you some names, and I don't know. The same thing with Aaron Glenn. The same thing with Brian Flores. He was a little successful. Hopefully, he learned his way, the way he speaks and conduct himself with just not just quarterbacks, with players in the NFL. That Tua Tagovailoa situation. Hope he learned his error of his ways. He's a former local kid from Brooklyn. Be able to head coach. I call him kid because he's younger than myself. But Brian Flores coming back to New York, coaching for the Jets from Brooklyn, all that good stuff. But he's going to need a good, strong offensive coordinator if he's going
Yeah.
to come in and run the offense, if he's going to run the defense. A defensive head coach, you need a hell of an offensive coordinator. I know a name out there that you mentioned. Who did you like? Who did you say before? If a Brian Flores coaching staff?
Name that'll be a good OC for Aaron Rodgers would be Pat Shermer.
That's a nice one. A Pat Shermer will be a nice one. That's a nice name out there because he's in Colorado. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And again, Pat Shermer in Minnesota was a good coordinator in the pros. Maybe not head coach material, but getting him back into the league, offenses, working with the younger talent in Colorado, seeing the NCAA, the up and coming skill set of the young players, could help out a Jets, offense innovate. Because look, let's face it, the Jets are so antiquated when it comes to offense. They're very antiquated. They're boring, lethargic, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be boring and lethargic. They should be innovative, quick, elusive. Even if they run after the catch type of deals. But man, it seems like they're pulling teeth on offense. It's bad. And again, if I go back to the Kingsbury, if you get a offensive minded head coach like the Kingsbury, I'm going to throw as an example. You could bring in a Wink Martindale as your defensive coordinator. With that defense, Wink, what he did with the Giants, you put him with the kind of, talented players on the corner in Gardner and Reed. I think they will be here, and I think they'll have a bounce back year for Sauce Gardner. He could, you could play one-on-one on the outside and blitz with him. There's so many different possibilities, Jet Nation. It might be, but again, it all starts with the quarterback. The man under center is what's going to move the needle. It's going to make us go into the postseason or even be a winning team. Let alone, let's even pace it. Let's even be above 500. It goes down to the man under center. I know you guys don't want Aaron Rodgers back. It all depends on the general manager, what direction. If they're going to start genociding players off this roster, young players, I'm going to go with a total rebuild. I don't know if I could stomach it. I'm a Jet fan, got the merch. But they don't really, Jeff. That's what I'm afraid of.
Once again, that's going to be up to the general manager. That's something
Because
that it may not be able to stomach, but if that's the choice he makes, and Woody Johnson gives him that full autonomy to do so, which he will in his first year, 9 times out of 10, that's what they're gonna do.
Man, so we got to see who they bring here as a general manager. If he's a culture changer, a difference maker in buying the groceries, but then does he have the smarts, the IQ to hire a really good head coach? Now, I ask you guys, Jet Nation, that are listening to this video, that's going to watch this video, put it in the comments. Who would you like the Jets to go for head coach? Do you want an experienced retread head coach that knows how to coach men? That knows how the Jets they need a CFO or CEO on the head coach. When I mean that, who knows how to dabble in both offense, defense, and let guys delegate and run. Not just a defensive head coordinator, and I have no clue what goes on offense, like a la Rex Ryan, even Salah. You guys, you need someone who's dabbled in both, who knows a little bit of both, who has done their, like a John Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh was out there, no conversations, not even looking that way. I don't know if he would have taken the Jet job again. We don't know that, but not even contemplating Harbaugh. When you had justification to move from Rob Saleh in the beginning of the last season. After that season, it is because you could even pin a lot of stuff on Saleh. The Mike effing White allowing him to wear the shirt and kind of ruining a little bit of Zach Wilson's confidence. I mean, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. But let's go. Let's give me your thoughts on that, guys. We'll say goodbye on the video here. Put it in the comments section there. We'll answer back. We appreciate everyone watching this. Please follow us, and we'll see you next time on the Jetsalorian. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.